feel like it. But today we're going to cover why you should run like hell whenever somebody asks you, will you change a mode door actuator for me? Let's go. Okay, so this is the vehicle in question, or rather should I say the culprit. I'd like to point out that when these things first came out, I thought they were rather cool looking and that I might quite like to have one. Now that I've got my hands on one, fortunately this is not my car, this is actually a customer's car, I can see why it's actually a good thing that I never actually bought one. Inside you'll see how far along we've came to get to this part here. See that? You have to take mostly everything of the dashboard out in order to get to this little motor. Now the reason why you would replace this motor obviously is because you would turn the AC on, turn it towards your face, and it blows at the floor or the windshield, and it just decides, hey, I'm not going to do what you want me to do, I'm going to do what I want to do. That's usually a sign that that mode door has failed. So replacing it doesn't sound like a big job until you find out where it is on this thing, which is there. I had to make a few different tools. This one, more notably, because there was a spot. Let me just see if I can get the camera to see it. But you see how I've taken a 15mm, and by the way, I would use a decent quality 15mm and heat it up until it turns blue. See how this one has turned blue? Now this one's obviously cooled off, otherwise I wouldn't have it in my hands. But you're going to have to use some sort of torch to get it good and hot so that you can get it weak enough so that you can bend it. Now obviously if you are living in Iran and you don't know what a torch is, it's kind of like a big stick on the end of a can that disperses hot gas, kind of like I'm doing, and you light it and it makes fire and boom and all kinds of stuff, and gets stuff nice and hot so that you can bend stuff like this. So you need to make one of those. And obviously if you're living in Ethiopia and you don't know what Iran is, can't help you there. Anyway, so, joking aside, because obviously for those of you that are too serious to realize that I have a bit of a sense of humor, I don't know why you would watch me honestly, you'll know that this is actually a very serious undertaking. I mean, if you'll notice, most of the dashboard is actually back there. In fact, let me see if I can show you and just give you an idea of what has to happen. Look at that. Alright, there's everything that you are going to have to remove to do this job. The center console actually would normally be out, but I was testing it last night to make sure that my work was actually correct. Now, I'm not going to give you any video footage of it coming apart because I was so excited about having actually figured out how to take it apart. See, look at that. Even that has to come out. That's the cradle support for the steering column. Look, that had to come out too. Just unbelievable. Just unbelievable how much you had to take apart to get this thing to the point where it is. Glove box, dashboard, airbags, all of it. But in order to do your test, you have to wire everything back up, which means that you have to find places for everything. So if you'll notice, I've got an airbag that's in the floor, it's plugged up. I've got my CD player right here, it's plugged up. I've got my heat and air controls, it's plugged up. I've got my center console, it's plugged up. In fact, why don't I just make that live for you? Let's see here. I think it's, yeah, there it is. Let's see here. I'm going to make this happen. There we go. Alright. So now we've got, you can see that. The dashboard's all took apart, but everything's plugged up and working. If it were doable, I could probably drive this thing like this. Hey look, we're listening to great classics. How about that? But anyway, I just verified that all of our electricals are working, and now I'm going to show you how you can test it. Alright, now see you got your, notice how there are no error message apart from the service engine soon light, and that's because the engine's not running. But this is how you're going to test these units when you don't have any real, like, serious tools like a scan tool or a mode niche or anything. So the ignition switch is on, and I'm over here on the steering wheel. You've got steering control. See those little controls on the steering wheel? These right here? That's heat and air. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to look at my heat mode first, and I'm going to turn the heat on and make sure that it moves, okay? So it should start moving. And you can see it begin to move. I'm turning the heat up and it should turn clockwise, which it's doing. See that? Now it is normal for it to move in little increments like this, because what the computer actually does is it turns the input you're giving it digitally, and it waits to try and figure out if you're done telling it what to do before it moves the motor. And on the steering wheel, you have to kind of blap it in increments so that it actually has a chance to catch up, because if you don't, it'll just sit there and go, "Dah! What did you want me to do, Pete? What did you want me to do?" And you'll just have to be like, "You moron." But you can hear the air actually changing as you're doing that. So I'm going to continue on trying to turn the air back down from the heat. There you go. See that? There we go. We're all the way to cold now. I'm going to turn the fan up. You should hear it. There it goes. And right now we are... Wait a minute. Let me turn that back up a little so that you can... There we go. Now, let me get over to the other side. Obviously, you would want to see all of this so that you can know how to do this for yourself if you're crazy enough to attempt it. Now, on my control panel here, we've got... Oh, look at that. It's 76 degrees outside, like I didn't know. So, let's just do this. I'm going to turn the mode button here. I am going to, as you can see, it's face now, which is this trapdoor. So I'm going to hit mode, and I'm actually going to have the camera over it so that you can see it. Okay, now that is now floor, so it should be moving that one. There we go. Look at that. And it's actually, oh, sorry, that's now floor and windshield, so I should feel it up here. Very nice. I should feel it down here. Very nice. And, in fact, why don't I put this over here? Hang on a second, if I can do that without shorting it out. There we are. But the mode door in question that you are witnessing me attempt to repair is actually that one. And if you wanted to watch it, here it is in action. Alright, it's at the floor now. I hit it again. Oh wait, that's the floor by itself. Whoops. I hit it again. Now that's floor and face. It should move a little bit. There you go. You probably just saw that if the camera's not too blurry. And now I'm going to move it at just to face, and it should move completely. Just like so. Hope the lighting's good enough. I'm going to do that again, just in case you didn't see it. Okay, that's floor and face. And then that's floor only. It should move a little bit. And then that's floor and face. There we go. And then that's face only. And you can verify that this stuff, in fact, let me turn this down so that you can hear me talk, because we're just testing the doors now. Alright, so face only should be those flaps looking like that. Can you see that? I hope so. Alright, so that's floor and windshield, which means those flaps close like that. Alright, now I'm going to give you floor only, so that actually moves the one on the back. And you can actually see that. I mean, this is the one that does the defroster. Let me see if I can cycle through so that you can see that one. Okay, there's the one that does the defroster. It should be opening. And I've just turned it off, so it should be closing. Wait a minute. Oh, whoops, that's the wrong one. Well, you can't see that one. Well, just screw it. Anyway, you get the idea. So the doors are closed on the top when you have the floor on, and so that's floor. Alright, floor and face. They should be opening, but not all the way, because there's another flap that's down there, down in the hole. You see that? Now you have half and half, floor and face. Now I'm going to do face only. It should move the rest of the way. And there's another flap that comes up. Do you see that? Now whenever you're doing a job like this, you want to make sure, obviously, that everything else is working. You want to make sure that you have no real codes. Because one thing that gets on my nerves about this one is that, let me just turn that off, is that all of these look identical. They look identical. It looks like you could bolt them on in place of each other. You can't. The reason why you can't is because these are all individually tuned to go in different directions, have different controls and so on. They kind of work on the idea of a CAN bus system, which is the computer allows it to use the same 5 wires. If you look at the wiring harness, okay? All 5 of these have the same 5 wires on their plug. Now, this allows them to tune them individually according to the computer, so that when you have one fail, it can actually set a code, and you can have it tell you which one is the one that's the culprit. I actually made the mistake of going to the trouble of replacing that one there. See that one? Not the mode door, the one below it. That's actually the driver's side heat-cold switch, okay? Now, I thought that was the mode door, and I put it on, and I couldn't get it to calibrate for anything, and I took it to a mechanic, and I said, hey, actually, I took it to the Dan, and I said, hey, can you help me with this? I can't get it to calibrate. I put this mode door in, and he looked at me, and he said, holy shit, he put a mode door in? Do you need a job? And I was like, well, I've kind of got one already. But what actually happened after that, he called me back about a couple hours later and said, did you take the whole dash apart? And I was like, well, no, it wasn't necessary. I'd show you which one I replaced. And he said, oh yeah, well, my tech needs to talk to you for a minute. And I found out that I had replaced the wrong one, and the computer thought it had 2 mode doors, and it wouldn't calibrate for anything. It was like, yeah, you have 2 mode doors. We're not doing that. So here we are again. And I thought I'd video it for you. But there is a lot of confusion. Don't replace that one by mistake. There's a lot to this, and I'm not going to cover it all here. But the upshot is simple. That is, test, 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 test before you take anything apart. And by all means, get yourself a diagram. I'm not going to cover that here because there's millions of these things still on the road, so I'm sure you'll be able to find it. Anyway, if you want to do this, I highly recommend that you pay someone else. That's my rant for today. In the meantime, I've got to get to my regular job. Yeah, I know I don't do this for a living. You guys don't pay me enough yet. You should see this thing on the road pretty soon. And I hope I'll see you soon. In the meantime, obviously, if you haven't already, if you liked this video, subscribe. If you didn't like this video, I can't help you. See you next time.